Hello, good afternoon to all. Okay, today we are going to see the step by step how the fault is located on underground cables. Okay, so in this we will see the what are the different types of power cables according to the insulation voltage levels. After that, we will see the how the cable is constructed. After that, we will see what are the different causes of the cable faults, and we will categorize these faults, and then we see how the step-by-step fault is located on underground cables. After that, what are the safety precautions we have to take, and what is the solution as we are offering as a manufacturer. Okay. Now, what is power cable? Power cable is uh, a single conductor or multiple conductors which are bounded together with the help of a overall sheath and protective layers, which is used to transmit power between the densely populated urban areas, factories, from overhead posts to consumer premises for distribution, and for EHV transmissions where the overhead lines are inconvenient and impracticable to the use. Okay, so now we will see what are the different types of power cables. So based on construction, the power cables are classified as the power cables are classified as based on construction, insulation, and voltage level. So based on construction, power cables are classified as belted, screened, separate lead sheet, the combination of screened separate lead sheet, and pressure cables. Okay. So in belted cables, they are generally used up to the 11 kV applications, in which the paper belts are provided or around the conductors, and these type of cables are uh, weak weak insulation faces the tangential forces, and also the air pockets are easily formed in this type of cables. So these cables cannot withstand for the medium voltage and higher voltages levels. Okay, so after that, the screened type of cables, the multiple cores are covered by the impregnated paper, and after that the aluminum foil is provided, and over the aluminum foil a copper fabric tape is provided, and this all the cores with copper fabric tape are kept in contact with each other to reduce the heat dissipation and electrical stresses. Okay, this type of screen type H type cables are used for up to the 33 kV applications. Okay, after that, separate lead sheet type cables. In this type of cables, uh, similar to the H type of cable, the conductors are covered by the insulating paper, and after that, it was separate lead sheet is provided to the each core. So in this type of cable, the core to core type of fault is very less. Okay, and this type of separate lead type cables are used mainly up to the to 33 kV applications, and after that HSL cables. In this type of cables, for every core there is a separate lead is provided, and after that overall lead is provided for this type of cables, and this type of cables mainly used up to the 66 kV applications, and according to the construction, the pressure cables are also there. So pressure cables are categorized into two types: oil filled or oil pressurized, and gas pressurized cables. Okay, we will see in the next slide what are these pressure type of cables. Okay, and also the according to the different insulation, what are the types of cable we will see in the next slide. Okay, so according to the insulation, the cables are classified in various types, in which first the paper insulated cables are developed, in which the paper which is used of impregnated material, which is of low cost, and also the high dielectric they are providing high dielectric strength, but they are very hygroscopic in nature. So that's why they are used for smaller installations like household and LV applications. After that, paper insulated lead cover cable. Okay, the PILC cable. In PILC cable, the core is as it's shown in picture. You can see that the core is surrounded by a separate lead, and this lead is used for providing the used to prevent the entry of moisture in the cable, and this is the mainly used to the come over the disadvantage of the paper insulated cable. These type of cables are mainly developed in around 1940 or 1950s. Okay, now this type of cables are used for medium voltage applications, and these are not widely available in India. After that, the oil filled cables. The In oil filled cables, oil is used as insulating material, in which oil is maintained within the cable at a certain pressure, and uh, also the mineral oil is used in this type of cable. These oil cooled cables are used for 66 kV above applications, and in this type of cable, uh, the reservoirs are means maintenance, and we need to always keep the pressure constant, and also we have to uh, do the frequent maintenance of this type of cable. So to overcome this type of disadvantages of highly maintenance cost and maintaining, and also detection of the oil leakage is also difficult in this type of cables. So that's why to overcome this problem, the extruded cables are developed, such as ethylene propylene rubber. In ethylene propylene rubber mainly, this type of cables are having good mechanical strength. They are durable, and also they are having high insulation resistance properties. The ethylene propylene rubber is one type of vulcanized rubber cables, and mainly used for LV and MV applications. After that, PVC cables. The PVC, polyvinyl chloride, is having high insulation resistance, and also the good dielectric strength, but they are and also they are having the properties for inert for the alkalis and acids. So they are widely used in cement and chemical factories, and also they are used for LV and domestic purpose applications. But these are mainly the disadvantage of PVC cables are they are uh, frequently got damaged due to the mechanical pressures. So that's why to overcome this type of cables, the polyethylene cable is mainly used. Okay, in polyethylene cable, these cables are having low dielectric losses than the PVC, and also they are having the good mechanical strength than PVC cables. They are but they are not flexible as much of that PVC cable. They are hard in nature. Okay, and but there is only disadvantage of polyethylene is they are highly sensitive to moisture under the high voltage stresses. Okay, after that, the cross-linked polyethylene cables are developed, which are used for the higher temperature applications, up to the 250 degrees centigrade. They are better aging characteristics, and also the insulation resistance characteristics are very high, and also they are means they are improved version of polyethylene cables. So that's why they are having better characteristics to undergoing the water treating as compared to the polyethylene cable. So they are less resistance to water treating as compared to polyethylene. And after that, they are also crack proof, and also dielectric losses are. But the only disadvantages of cross-linked polyethylene that they are undergoes high dielectric losses than polyethylene. Okay, after that, jelly filled cables. The jelly filled cables are mainly used for telecommunication applications, in which polyethylene is used as insulation, and petroleum jelly is used to prevent the entry of moisture in the cable. Okay, the next one, gas insulated cables. In gas insulated or gas filled cables, the pressurized gas like dry nitrogen or SF6 is used as the insulating material, or also as a coolant for the cable. Okay, in which airtight steel pipe is used, and we have pressurized gas is used to uh, used as an insulator in this type of cable. These type of cables are also used for the EHV applications, and also they can sustain the high load current than the extruded cables like XLP. But XLP cables are widely used in industry up to the 400 kV applications. So now we will see what is the construction of cable. Okay, in this picture we can see at the center of the cable a conductor is used. Mainly aluminum and copper material is used for the conductor, in which copper is slightly heavier than aluminum, but they are highly conductive than copper, highly conductive than aluminum. But aluminum is, if we calculate the electrical equivalent of copper as compared to electrical equivalent of aluminum as compared to copper, then aluminum is 1.6 times, we require 1.6 times cross sectional area of the copper, and also for the at the half of the weight of the aluminum. Okay, after that the second layer is conductor shield or semiconductor layer is used in the cable, in which we have this type of semiconductor layer is used to maintain the uniform electrical field in the cable, prevent the air filled cavities between the metal and insulation, and after that to prevent the local electrostatic discharges, and also reduces the electrostatic stresses in the cable. The semicon layer or the conductor shield, which is shown in first picture, is used. After that, the conductor shield, insulation shield, is used to provide the insulation in the cable. And we in previous slide I explained the what is the what different types of insulation also. After that, the conductor shield or insulation shield is used. The insulation shield insulation shield or the semicon layer is having same function as I explained earlier as conductor shield, means to prevent the electrostatic discharges into the cable. After that, the copper tape shield or conductor shield is used in the cable. This type of shield is used to keep electromagnetic radiation in, and also provide the path for fault and leakage current, because this copper tape shield is earthed at the cable termination or cable ends. Okay. After that, in cable construction, filler materials are used, as you can see in second picture. The filler materials are used to fill the hollow spaces in the cable, and also used to maintain the uniform shapes of the cable. Okay. After that, the inner PVC sheath or PVC inner jacket is used in the cable. This type of insulation, this type of layer is used to keep all the bundle together, and also provide bedding for the cable armor. Okay. And after that, cable armor is mainly used to provide mechanical protection to the cable. Mainly steel wire or aluminum wire are used for the cable armoring purpose, in which tinning or galvanizing process is done to provide the rust protection to the cable. And also mainly the steel is magnetic in nature, so that's why whenever the electrical current passes from the cable, the electric ED currents are developed in the steel material, so that's why the cable undergoes to the overheating. So that's why aluminum armoring is widely used in the industry. After that, the outer sheath or outer PVC jacket. The outer PVC jacket is mainly used to provide mechanical, chemical, and electrical protection to the cable. In which, in this type of outer sheath, we are this is also used to provide the manufacturer marking, the cable rating, and also the length marking on the cable. Now, in this picture, you can see that the cross section of XLPE cable of a 400 kV cable. The construction, as I explained earlier. Okay. Next one. Next. Okay. In the next slide, we will see what are the different types of causes of the fault. Okay. In the manufacture, first one is the manufacturing defect. At the time of manufacturing of the cable, If the manufacturing process there are if there are some voids are remained in the cable, or some moisture or contaminants are remained in the cable, so they were after the time of service they undergoes through to a partial discharge, means they are slowly developing the water trees and electrical trees in the cable. These are slowly developing faults which are results in a higher amount of breakdown of the cable or damage to the cable. After that, the next one is the poor workmanship during cable laying. In India, the manual cable laying is widely used. Here you can see the pictures from cable laying. These pictures are taken from the Delhi, in which manual cable laying is used. In this type of cable laying, in third picture you can see that the proper care of the bending radius is not taken care in this type of installation. So due to this type of installation, if the proper care is not taken, then the due to the unwanted bending of the cable, the armor of the cable got damages or cracked at that bending point. So that's why this will cause to the further damage of the cable in the time of the service. Okay, after that, the third one is external damage due to the road construction, infrastructure development. The cable might got damaged mechanically. Next one, next one is the earth subsidence or landsliding. Due to this, the cable is got undergoes to the damage. Next one is due to overloading events or overcurrent events. The cable, the insulation of the cable is got burns at the weak points, joints, and termination. Here you can see the picture that termination is got burned uh, due to the overloading. Next one. Next one is the sheath or armor corrosion. In this picture, you can see that the level of corrosion on the armor. This is caused due to the damage of the outer jacket is got damaged, and the moisture is got entered into the cable, and due to that the armor of cable is got corroded. So this will cause to the breakdown of the inner insulation due to the formation of water ring and electrical ring. So that's why this is the one of the major cause of the cable fault in the cable. After that, the lightning strike and over voltage events. Due to the lightning strikes and over voltage events, the higher amount of voltage is induced into the cable, and that's why the insulation of the cables got damaged, and that's why the faults are occurred in the cable. After that, ingress of moisture due to the weak points or at the terminations or joints, from weak point a moisture is got entered into the cable, and this type of water causes to the formation of water trimming in the insulation, and this water trimming are after that results into the formation of electrical trimming, and this electrical trimming results in the uh, partial discharges occurred inside the cable insulation, and this small discharges into the cable causes to the weakening of the insulation of the cable, and after a certain period of time, this cable is got breakdown. After that, aging of the cable due to after a certain amount of service of the cable, the cable undergoes to the aging effect, and due to this, the insulation of the cable due to the due to the operating temperature and overloading events, and also the high amount of current flowing to the cables, due to that the insulation of cable is got weakened after a over a service of period. So that's why uh, after a certain period of time the cable is got damaged. After that, the damage is caused due to the termites or rodents. In this picture you can see that one rat is damaging the cable. This type of faults mainly occurred in the LV systems, means low voltage cables. This type of uh, influence by the termites or rodents may cause the fault in the cable. Okay, next one is poor workmanship during repairing. During repairing, if the proper methods or proper care is not taken, then the faults are occurred in the cable. I will explain in later slide also how the due to poor workmanship the faults are occurred in the cable. In this picture, you can see that there is a weak point at the joint of the armor, and this weak point from this weak point the entry of moisture is got into the cable, and this entry of moisture will causes as I explained earlier. After that, the types of faults according to the fault resistance. The fault If the fault resistance is below 10 ohm means the cable is deadly short circuited. So for this type of faults we will call them as short circuit fault. The fault resistance higher than the 10 ohm or higher than 10 mega ohm to the kilo ohms, this type of fault is called as low resistance. And if the fault resistance value is greater than 100 kilo ohm, then it is called as high resistance type of fault. And if the fault resistance is in giga ohms, then we will call it as a open circuit fault. Okay, I will explain it later also. Okay, the first one, open circuit fault. In this picture you can see the picture is self explanatory, in that you can see that one core is completely broken. This type of open circuit faults mainly occurred in aluminum conductors due to the overloading or overcurrent events, or the mechanical damage to the cable. After that, the short circuit or contact type of fault. Mainly these type of faults are occurred between core to core or core to sheath. Next one is flashing fault. So as I explained earlier, if the proper care is not taken in the at the time of preparing, so here you can see that the weak points means if the contacts are not made properly, then due to these weak points, after a particular level of voltage application to the cable, this type of flashings are occurred in the cable, and this small flashing in the cable or the discharge in the cable will causes to the damage in the insulation of the cable, or this may weaken the joints, and after that this type of faults are results in the failure of the cable. Okay, after that, sheath faults means the outer PVC jacket or outer jacket of the cable is got damaged, and due to this the armor of the cable will comes in the contact of the soil. So in picture you can see that. After that, next one is ingress of moisture in the cable. As I already explained, at the weak point of the cable or some weaker damage the damaged point of the cable on the PVC jacket, outer PVC jacket, the moisture is got entered into the cable, and this moisture is got accumulated at joints or at the termination points, and due to that this water will causes to the formation of water triggering under the high voltage places. And next type of fault is multiple faults, means any possible combination between this will called as the multiple faults. So means there is any possible combination between this. After that, now we have covered all the types of faults. After that, different types of causes of fault. Now we will see the how step by step we are conducting the cable fault location. So in cable fault location, we have to always keep in mind that we need to follow always a mannered process. If we are skipping any of the step between this, then the cable fault location means we might the at the end of the day we might did not get any fault, or also the fault location time is drastically increasing. So that's why we always required to follow the stepped manner for the correct approach to the cable fault location. So in this first step is diagnosis. In diagnosis stage, we are detecting what type of fault. We are noting the cable details about the cable, how the fault is occurred. I will also explain the diagnosis process in next slide also. So in diagnosis stage, we will see the how what type of fault is occurred. So in in this stage we can determine that what type of pre-location methods we have to kept ready. After that we need to do the preconditioning in some conditions. Let us consider if the moisture is present in the cable, then we have to do the preconditioning by the applications of by the application of surging or burn down equipment or charging the line. So in by application of preconditioning steps we are removing the this type of water ingress in the cable, or we are converting the high resistance fault into the low resistance fault, so that we can easily prelocate the fault. So this preconditioning is not required for every fault condition. These are uh, there are some critical conditions, so that's why we need to preconditioning. After that we have to carry out prelocation. Now what is mean by prelocation means we are determining the fault distance from one test end. Okay, so fault distance means it will give us a search window to locate the fault. So in prelocation mainly four methods are used. I will explain in later slides. Okay, so in prelocation step now we get for an example, let us consider a cable of length 2 kilometer. So in prelocation stage we are calculating the fault distance from one end. Okay, so let us consider in 2 kilometer cable, if we are getting the fault distance as a 500 meter. So after that we I have to carry a route tracing, means I will go physically to the 500 meter, and after that I will trace the 40 to 50 meter area by using route tracing process. Okay, in route tracing process it is always necessary to conduct it before pinpointing, because it is not necessary that every user will aware of the route of the cable. So route tracing is must required for before the pinpointing. After the route tracing, pinpointing step is carried out. In pinpointing we are locating exact the location of the cable fault. Okay, so in the marked area in the route tracing step, we will only within that area we are doing the pinpointing by using a surge generator or thumper and a pinpointing set. Okay, after the exact location of pinpointing, after we have to excavate the cable, and if we got the multiple cables in trenches or the earth, then we need to do the cable identification from a bunch of cable, because the uh, cutting a live cable or other than the our dead faulty cable, it may cause to the fatal accident, and also it causes to the death. So that's why cable identification is a very important step that need to be carried out after the pinpointing, if there are multiple cables are present. And after the proper cable identification at the faulty point, we need to confirm, and we need to cut the cable. After that we have to retest the cable, means if we cut the cable at the faulty section, then we are having two sections of cable. Okay, so we have to test both the sections of the cable by using the diagnosis process. We have to ensure that there is no more further fault. After that we have to do the cable repairing. After successful cable repairing or jointing process, we need correct approach by step. So I will explain the diagnosis process in detail. So diagnosis process, in which we will preliminary first we collect the preliminary information, like what is the type of cables, means we will note down the what type of insulation, what is the rating of the cable, what is the cable size, etc. After that we will note down the approx cable length which is known to the user. After that we will note down the what is the time of service in service time of the cable, and how the fault is occurred in the cable, and also the status of the protection equipments. So after that collecting this preliminary information, we are doing the diagnosis process. So for diagnosis process we require to first disconnect both the ends. After that we have to discharge the cable. And now we have to prepare the log sheet using the using means we have to test the cable using multimeter, IR tester, and TDR set. So by using multimeter we will we will note down the we will check the cable continuity. Next. Okay, so by using multimeter, we will first carry out the continuity test. So in continuity test, we will keep both the ends of cable open, and we will check the using multimeter. We will carry out the continuity test. So continuity test is carried out on all the phases with respect to means R to R, R to Y, Y to B, and R to B. And after that, we have to also check the continuity between R to armor and means every phase to armor. So core to core and core to armor testing is very necessary. So in continuity test, we got idea that if we are keeping the both the ends open and conducting continuity test from one end, so if we are getting the continuity, it means that there is a short circuit in between the cable. So we will note down this as whatever the pair we are testing, we will note down that it is as a short circuit fault between R to Y or whatever we are the testing. After that, we will note down the resistance value by using multimeter. So if the resistance value is in kilo ohms or mega ohms by using multimeter only, so it means that there is a low resistance fault in the cable. After, after that, we will short circuit the far end of the cable uh, by using a short circuit jumper. So we will short circuit all the cores with respect to armor, and then we will again perform a continuity test. So if we are not getting the continuity, it means that the core is got breaked down at the in between the cable middleware. So we will note down in the log sheet. After that, if we are not getting any open circuit or short circuit or low resistance fault in the cable, then we have to test the cable using IR tester. So in IR value will give us the what type of what is the fault resistance in the cable. So we will note down whatever the pair is faulty. If we are getting the IR value as infinity, then it is a healthy core. Okay, means it is a healthy pair. If we are getting the IR value is continuously varying from zero, it means that there is a presence of moisture in between cable. So we will note down all the readings into the log sheet. After that, we will use a time domain reflectometer to calculate the total cable length, and also the location of the joints and transformers in the cable. So it will guide us to the location of the fault. Means due to the sectionalization, we can easily pinpoint the fault. So we have to note down all these type of readings into the log sheet in the diagnosis stage. After that, in certain conditions, we need to alter the fault conditions. Okay, so in preconditioning, to alter the fault conditions means we are converting the high resistance fault into the low resistance, or we are removing the moisture presence in the cable by the application of surges. Moisture affected area, and this moisture is got removed by the surging. If there is a high resistance fault between PIC cable or PILC cable, the burn down instrument is used mainly to to convert the high resistance fault into the low resistance fault. So in burn down stage, we are applying the continuously high voltage DC supply into the cable, and we are allowing uh, to pass a high amount of current through the cable. So that's why in this picture also you can see that how we are burning the cable. So due to the burning of cable, one carbon bridge or the conductivity is got created between the high resistance faulty area. So that's why it can be easily prelocated using prelocator. Okay, uh, if by surging or burning we are unable to alter the fault condition, then we are energizing the line for the some time. we are allowing to pass a high amount of faulty current between the cable, and by using that faulty current we are modifying the fault condition. So this preconditioning is necessary for certain conditions only. After that we will carried out the prelocation. The prelocation means we are determining the approx fault distance from either end of the cable. Okay, so prelocation will give us the approximate fault distance, means a search window, as I explained earlier. So in earlier stages, the cable fault locations means that we are only using a surge generator and a pinpointer set. Okay, so by using surge generator we are only applying the surges into the cable, and by using pinpointing set the uh, user are walking on the all over the route of the cable, and used it means he is used a pinpointing set to pinpoint the fault location. But in the traditional the cable fault location, the time required for the cable fault location is more. We are applying the surges for a higher amount of time because we are testing all around the cable lane. So that's why we are applying the high voltage surges for a larger time. So that's why to reduce the fault location time, the prelocation is developed, means prelocation technique is developed. So in which first method is a low voltage method. In low voltage method, a time domain reflectometry method is used, means uh, and after that low voltage, the high voltage methods are impulse current methods, secondary injection means SIM method or arc reflection method, and third one is the voltage decay method. So I will explain in later slides. So first we will see the low voltage method, that is time domain reflectometry. So time domain reflectometry is working same like as a radar. So in this picture you can see that in radar principle, one signal is got transmitted from the transmitter, and it will get reflected from the test object, and the time difference between the transmitted signal and received signal is calculated by using instrument, and by this measuring this time difference we are calculating the distance to the object. So same principle we are using in time domain reflectometry for the fault detection in the for prelocating the fault in the cable. So in time domain reflectometer method we are applying a low voltage high frequency pulses into the cable. In these pulses are got reflected from whenever there is a impedance change in the cable, these pulses are got reflected towards the sending end, and this reflected graph plus the sending pulse is plotted on the screen, and by the instrument is automatically calculating the time difference. And we in TDR instrument the user need to set the speed of propagation, means we are knowing the speed of propagation for different types of insulation, as I explained earlier. Generally, the speed of the electromagnetic wave in different types of insulation, like for XLP, it is generally around 86 meter per microseconds, and for other insulations like EPR or PVC, it is lesser than the XLP, like 70 meter per microseconds, or between the 70 to 79. After that we will in TDR process we are entering the speed of propagation, means we are entering the velocity of the cable. We are setting the velocity of cable in the instrument. The instrument will measure the time difference, and by using the formula the distance is equal to speed into the time speed into the time into the time we are using calculating the fall distance. Okay, so next we will see the different types of TDR graphs. So in this picture you can see that this is a healthy core picture. So healthy cores means a healthy core is always prepared for calculating the total cable length. So in this picture you can see that we are connected the TDR between the R phase and conductor sheath. So in between that one low voltage pulse is injected into the cable. So the starting sine wave type of pulse is showing that the starting pulse, and this sine wave type of shape is got plotted into the instrument due to there is a impedance changeover at the end A, means the impedance changeover between the test lead of the cable and the conductor of the cable. So due to that this impedance change, one sine wave type of pulse is injected, which is shown at end A, cursor position 1, and the at the end of the cable we are kept this cable as open. So that's why we will get a upward reflection at the end B. So in by placing the cursor between this starting graph, means starting sine wave, means emitted pulse, and the reflected upward pulse, we can calculate the total cable length. So next graph is open circuit fault. We will see the open circuit fault, in which at the point F we can see that the cable is completely got opened. So whenever we are injecting the TDR pulse into the cable, the total pulse is got reflected from the fault point only. Means there is we cannot see from this fault point. We can only see up to this fault point only, because the cable is got completely open. So we cannot see the end of the cable if the cable is completely open. Okay. So next one is the partially open circuit fault. In partially open circuit fault, the conductor is got means some stands of the conductor is got open circuited. So that's why a smaller upward reflection is we can receive in the cable, and after that the remainder energy will reflect as the second end. Okay. So by placing the cursor between 1 and 2, we can detect the partial open circuit fault, and by pressing the cursor between position 1 and 3, we can get the total cable length. Okay. So next type of fault is low resistance fault or short circuit faults. In means low resistance fault, by using TDR method, we can detect the low resistance fault up to the 200 ohm. Some of the manufacturers will give the low resistance detections by using TDR meter up to 100 ohms. So in low resistance fault, in this type of short circuit or low resistance type of fault, the characteristic impedance of the fault point is lesser than the characteristic impedance of cable. So that's why we will get a downward reflection at the fault point, and after that a positive reflection at the end we will receive. So by placing the cursor at the starting point, and the second point at the means the downward starting point of the downward reflection, we can calculate the short circuit fault distance. Okay. So next fault type of fault is means we can also by using TDR we can also determine the joints location in the cable, or the transformer whiteout we can also detect the transformer location in the cable. So at the time at the point of joint, there is a changeover of impedance between at the point of joint. So that's why due to this type of impedance change, we will get a small sine wave type of pulse into the joint location. So by placing the cursor as shown in the figure, we can determine the joint location in the cable. Okay. The next type of fault is moisture ingress. Means next type of graph, we can also determine the moisture affected area in the cable. So due to the presence of moisture in the core of the cable, the TDR energy is got disturbed at the time at the moisture affected area, and because the moisture is having the uh, varying impedance nature, so that's why we are getting a disturbed waveform as shown in the picture. So by placing the cursor as shown in the figure, we can detect the starting point of the moisture affected area. Okay. So this is all about the TDR graphs. After that, we will see the secondary injection method. So secondary injection means secondary injection or secondary impulse method. This method is also called as multiple impulse method or arc reflection method. So in this type of method, in TDR method, as we earlier see that we can detect the open circuit fault, short circuit faults, but we cannot detect the pinholes or the insulation failure faults between the cable. So for prelocating this type of high resistance nature faults, we required a surge generator and a secondary injection, secondary impulse filter, or a multiple impulse filter or arc reflection filter. So here we can see that the surge generator is and a sim filter and a cable under test. So in which we need to both the instruments. After that, the output of the surge generator is connected to the secondary impulse filter. After that, the output of secondary impulse filter is connected to the faulty core and for between the conductor sheet. After that, a prelocator instrument is connected to the secondary impulse filter, and also one return path is also connected to the prelocator. So in this animation we can see that how the secondary impulse method is working. So in this method, first we are sending a TDR pulse into the cable. So this TDR pulse cannot see the insulation failure or the puncture point in the cable. So that's why a regular waveform means as we seen earlier at the healthy core graph is plotted in the screen. And after that, a high voltage surge by using the surge generator is applied into the cable, and simultaneously when a TDR pulse is also injected into the cable. So due to the high voltage pulse, the at the fault point there is a flashover takes place, means temporary arc is created at the fault point, means we are creating the low resistance fault by breaking the high resistance fault. So due to the TDR pulse sent simultaneously, we are getting a downward reflection at the fault point. And in second graph shown by blue color, we can see that at fault point the high resistance fault is detected as a low resistance or short circuit fault by using TDR method. Okay, the main advantage of this type of secondary injection method that or secondary impulse method that this type of fault we are using the combo of TDR and high voltage method. So that's why the accuracy of this method is very high. And secondary impulse method, the only limitation of secondary impulse method that if the conductor sheath or conductor armor is got corroded or got corroded, then the reflected TDR pulse is got damped, or it might be diminishes into the cable itself. Or if we are testing the longer cables by using the SIM method or ARM method, then due to the longer cables the TDR pulse is got attenuated. So that's why we cannot properly detect the fault location. So that's why we need to go to our next method called as impulse current method. So in impulse current method, we does not require any special filter like secondary impulse filter. In this method, we required only a surge generator and prelocator. By using surge generator, we are connecting to the faulty core and sheath, and we are injecting a high voltage pulse into the cable. In this type of method, we are connecting a current coupler to the prelocator. Whenever we are sending the high voltage pulse into the cable, at fault point there is arc produced, and due to this temporary short circuit, one current transients are produced and which will travels along the cable sheath, and this current transient is got captured by using the coupler as shown in the figure, and this coupler will plots the graph into the cable. So as a graph you can see that at the first point there is a downward peak. This downward peak is nothing but at the this will reflect the surge generator means sending end, and there is one hump is created at the second point. The hump is nothing but the due to the flashover of the fault. This type of hump is created into the current transient, and these current transients are got plotted into the prelocator. In this type of method,
The prelocator does not send any, means practically it is not acting as a source, means it is not sending any signal into the cable. It is acting as a oscilloscope or a transient recorder, which is only recording the current transients by using coupler, and this by plotting the graph it is only determining the fault distance by using this method. Okay, so impulse current method, the limitations of impulse current method, that for shorter distances this impulse means the received reflections of the cable might get overlapped with each other. So that's why the impulse current method is generally preferred for the longer cables, because it will give the larger pulse width, and this larger pulse width will be very useful for determining the accurate fault location in longer cable. So that's why impulse current method is mainly preferred for the longer cables. After that, there is also limitation of impulse current method, that it, if the breakdown voltage of the cable is goes beyond the 32 kV, means by generally the cable fault locator instrument manufacturers are providing uh, thumpers up to the 32 kV. So that's why if the fault is not broke down up to the 32 kV surging, then we have to go to the voltage decay method. So in voltage decay method, we are connecting a DC high pot or DC high voltage test set into the cable, and we are using a prelocator. So as I explained earlier, in ICM method the current transients are used for detecting the fault distance. So in voltage decay method, we are applying the DC high voltage into the cable, means we are charging the cable up to the its breakdown point. So at fault point, whenever it reaches its breakdown level, then fault is got tripped, and the voltage, means the charged cable is discharged within itself. As you can see by this red dot, the cable is got discharging within itself, and due to this discharging between this cable within itself, the voltage transients are produced into the cable, and these voltage transients are captured by using a capacitive divider, means capacitive divider coupler, and these graphs are plotted in the cable. So in graph you can see that there is a positive reflection and a negative reflection. So by placing the cursor between successive positive and negative reflection, we can calculate the fault distance. So this is the voltage decay method is mainly used whenever there is a limitation of surge generator for breaking the fault distance. In this method, we are taking the advantage of capacitive behavior of the cable, means we are charging the cable by using a DC source, and we are allowing to break down the fault. So voltage decay methods is mainly preferred for the locating the fault in the EHV cables. So we can, by using this method, we can easily uh, detect the high resistance, means very high resistance faults in the EHV cables also. So now we will see the overview of the this all the prelocation methods. So in which first we can see that the TDR method is mainly used to detect the open circuit faults, then the short circuit faults up to the 200 ohms, and the ingress of moisture in the cable. So whenever there is we cannot, if we are unable to break down the fault using this low voltage source of the cable, low voltage source of the TDR, then we have to go for the high voltage methods like secondary impulse method or ICM or voltage decay method. So as I already explained, SIM method is prepared for the high resistance and detecting the high resistance and flashing faults. Also the ICM methods are also used for the detecting the high resistance and flashing fault, but this method is generally preferred for the longer length of cable. After that, the voltage decay method is used for the very high voltage flashing fault with very small leakage current, and also it is mainly preferred for the detecting the fault in the EHV cables, because the breakdown voltage of the fault level is very high in the EHV cables. After that, if we are having the moisture ingress or presence of water in the cable, then we have to do first the burn down, and after that we can, by using either method of ICM or SIM, we can detect the we can relocate the fault distance. So in prelocation stage we got the search window. Means if the in 2 kilometer cable, if we got the fall distance of 500 meter, then we can go directly to the 500 meter, and after that we will trace the route of approximately 50 meter uh, at the 500 meter. So now we will see how the cable route tracing is done. So in cable route tracing, let us consider a cable in which we are connecting a audio frequency generator. Audio frequency generator is nothing but in which we are injecting the AC sinusoidal very high frequency signals into the cables, and in this type of connections we are connecting the cable, means we are connecting the red output of the instrument to the core of the cable, and we are connecting the second end of the same core to the earth, and the return path of the instrument is connected directly to the earth at the sending end. So the path is got completed between the earth as shown in the figure. After that, the AC signal is got injected into the cable, so that's why a magnetic field is created around the cable. Okay, so by using this alternating magnetic field, we are using a sensor, means we are using a search coil into the cable. So now we will see the top view, means how the root tracing is done. So one root tracer sensor or search coil is used to trace the route of the cable. Whenever we are moving the sensor above the cables, in the root tracing we are not keeping the sensor on the ground, we are held this sensor just above the ground. So due to the effect of the alternating magnetic field of generated by the audio generator into the cable, this magnetic field is got detected by using this root tracing sensor, and one sinusoidal signal is got plotted into the receiver along with the frequency of the uh, audio frequency generator which it is sending. So whenever we are on the top of the cable, then we are getting the maximum amplitude or maximum signal, and also the exact frequency of the cable. Whenever we are moving towards the right or towards the left, means whenever we are moving away from the cable, then the amplitude of the signal is got reduced, and amplitude of signal got reduced. So uh, while route tracing we need to taken care that uh, whenever whichever the position we are getting the maximum strength of the signal, that is your cable route tracing sensor. So whenever we are moving
Are you there? Vishal? Vishal?
hello.
Yeah, Vishal, carry on.
So by detecting the audio sound by using the headphones provided along with receiver, and also the received signals on the display, we need to detect the maximum signal. Whenever whichever position we are getting the maximum signal, we need to mark that as a route of the cable. So we will in route tracing we will determine the exact route of the cable, so it will helps us to reduce the time of pinpointing. So now we will see how the faults are pinpointed in the cable faults are pinpointed exact location. Now what is the necessary of pinpointing? Because in prelocation we are dependent on the setting of that velocity of propagation. After that there is inaccuracy of the prelocation instrument, so that's why we cannot say that we cannot locate the exact fault point using true location method only. So that's why we required a pinpointing process to locate exact fault location. So in pinpointing, first we will see the high resistance type of faults how we are locating. So let us consider a cable in which the armor of the cable is grounded at both the points. After that, a surge generator is used to break down the fault. So by using surge generator, the surges are applied into the cable. So uh, due to the application of DC capacitive surges into the cable, there are two phenomena are got created into the cable. The first one is the electromagnetic field is created around the cable, and also there is a acoustic sound is produced at the fault point. Means due to the breakdown of the air present at the insulation puncture or in high resistance fault point, there is a air is present at that point. So this air is got discharged at the fault point due to the application of high voltage DC by using surge generator. So due to these surges, the at fault point we are getting acoustic signals, and over the length of the over cable, we are getting the electromagnetic signals. Okay, so by detecting these signals in first picture, we can see that whenever we are very far from the fault point, we will get the magnetic field, because the magnetic field is created to over the overall cable. So that's why we will get the magnetic signal on the cable. And also we are detecting the acoustic signal by using the sensor. So this sensor is called as ground microphone. So in pinpointing process, by using ground microphone, we will detect the magnetic signals and also acoustic signals. So whenever we are far from the fault, the magnetic signals we are getting on the cable, but the acoustic signals we are getting which are minimum, means which can be neglected. So whenever we are uh, we by taking the pinpointing sensor, we need to move forward on the cable till that the acoustic signal, means acoustic channel got received some signals into from the fault point. So in whenever we are reaches to the near to the fault, in second picture you can see that there is uh, we are getting the reflections in the acoustic channels, because we are near to the vicinity of the fault point. So in this picture you can see that there is magnetic field is started from the zeroth point, but there is a time delay, means the acoustic signal is got received after some duration of times. So for example, I can give an analogy that whenever we are hear that the thundering sound from the sky, uh, after a particular amount of time, first we will see the light in the clouds, and after that we will listen the sound. So same analogy is applicable for the pinpointing of high resistance fault, in which we will get the magnetic signals first, and after that we will get a delayed acoustic signals from the fault point. So we need to detect the exact coincidence of the both these signals. Means whenever we reach to this faulty point, then we will see the coincidence of the both magnetic and acoustic. So while pinpointing, we will always keep in mind that the higher peak of sound is not the fault point, but the exact coincidence of these both the signals, or the zero, means lesser the time delay between these both the channels will be your fault point. Okay, so this is the procedure of high resistance fault. After that, we will see the pinpointing of low resistance fault. So for low resistance or dead short circuit fault, we cannot use the surge generator, because by the application of surge generator, the total amount of means there is possibility of uh, uh, flowing the high amount of current into the cable due to the dead short circuit between the test conductors. So that's why it might be damaged the cable also and instrument also. So that's why, and also the application of surge generator into the dead short circuit fault, it will also does not create any fault sound. So that's why for pinpointing low resistance fault between 0 to 10 ohm, we require a audio frequency generator. So by using the this method is also called as twist method, in which we are applying the audio frequency signal, in which the current will flow from the uh, now in this example we can see that the Y phase and B phase of the cable is got short circuited at the fault point. So whenever we are applying the current from the audio generator, the current conduction takes place from the means current will pass to the fault point and get reflected to the instrument tail, means the conductor will not flow beyond this fault point. So whenever by using our root tracer sensor, as I already explained in the earlier slides, so we can use this audio generator and root tracer receiver system to pinpoint the low resistance fault, in which whenever we are using the search coil, we need to detect the uh, signals, received signals from the audio generator. So whenever we are moving towards the fault point, we will get the alternating signals, means the waveforms are got displayed in the cable. Whenever we reach the fault point, we will get the maximum amplitude of the receiver signal. And beyond the fault point, since there is no current conduction takes place, so that's why the received signal is got uh, attenuate, means got uh, diminishes. So that's why we will not get the any signals beyond the fault point. So by using this technique, the last received signal of higher magnitude is your fault point. So by using this method, you can pinpoint the low resistance fault. Okay, now after pinpointing, we need to so in pinpointing process means as I already explained, the pinpointing set means for pinpointing the high resistance fault, we are using surge generator, pinpointing set along with ground microphone. Okay, so in this method also uh, there is a route guidance features, means route guidance or left right indicator feature is also available. So in this method, let us consider a cable in which the surge generator is connected between the faulty conductors. Okay, so whenever we are applying the surges into the cable, the magnetic field is created around the cable. So as in surge generator, we are discharging the DC capacitors into the cable. So that's why a constant magnetic, means constant polarity magnetic field is got created into the cable. As you can see here, uh, the positive field is created at the one side of the cable, and negative field is created at the second side of the cable. So user might get confused while the pinpointing process, means he can while moving here and there, he might get distracted from the cable route. So to maintain the operator on the cable route, whenever user is moved towards the uh, one side of the cable, let us consider is user is moving towards its slabs, then the positive magnetic field is received on the cable, and this positive magnetic field is detected by using the receiver, and these arrows, means indicating arrows, will be also displayed on the receiver. So it will guide us user the sensor position, and also the sensor's next position. I will explain in next slide. Okay, in this slide you can visualize that the cable, whenever we are applying surges, there is magnetic electromagnetic field is created around the cable. So whenever we are keeping the sensor at the one side of the cable, we will get the positive magnetic, in magnetic channel you can say that the positive reflection is got received into the magnetic channel. And also in corner, in the same corner you can see that there is a uh, arrow is indicating the next sensor, means next position of the sensor, in which the black dot is indicating the sensor position, the center line is indicating the position of the cable, and the arrow is indicating the what is the next step I have to, means what is the next direction I have to keep the sensor. So whenever we are moving towards the another side of the cable, we will get the negative magnetic field reflection in the cable. So that's why we will get the negative reflection in the receiver, and also the sensor position and the next sensor movement is got indicated in the receiver instrument. So whenever we are keeping this ground microphone at the exact above the cable, we will get the alternating. So whenever we keep this sensor on the exact above the cable, we will get the alternating positive and negative reflections on the receiver. So whenever we are doing pinpointing, so this feature will guide user to remain over the root of the cable. So user need to ensure that he need to detect the positive magnetic field and negative, after that negative magnetic field. So successively he has to detect the alternating polarities of the magnetic field to locate the root of the cable while pinpointing. After that, after the successful pinpointing, we need to do the cable identification. So I will explain the DC pulse based cable identification system, in which let us consider the three cables, in which the middle one is the our wanted cable, which is the faulty dead cable. In which this faulty dead cable, we are connecting the transmitter of the cable identification system, in which the DC pulses are transmitted into the cable, in which we will connect one core, and this core is got earthed at the second end. Okay, as all the cables are all cable sheets, conductor sheets are earthed from the both end. So the returned path is got created from the their armor. So whenever there is a current flows between the, means whenever we are injecting the DC pulses using the transmitter, these pulses will travel from one direction. So by in here in this picture, you can see that we have clamped a CT on unwanted cable. In unwanted cable, the current will flow in reverse direction, because there is no direct current flowing from the core of the cable. In this first unwanted cable, the current is flowing from the armor of the cable. So this current is flowing in reverse direction, that of the directed CT direction. So that's why there are the red indication is indicated on the receiver, that will indicate that this is not our wanted cable. After that, whenever we are clamping this flexible clamp on the wanted cable, the direction of the current flowing is forward direction, means same with the CT direction. So that's why the green LEDs are got indicated on the receiver. So that's why we will get the green indication, means this is our wanted cable. And similarly for other unwanted cables also, we will get the red or unwanted indication on the receiver. So this is complete cable identification system using DC pulses. Okay, so this will help users to cut the only wanted cable. So this is very important in the point of safety. So after that cable identification, we will go for the repairing of the cable. So in repairing of the cable, first we will in the first step we will disconnect all our instruments, means surge generator and other all instruments we are disconnecting. After that we are discharging the cable using discharge rod. After that, after discharging, we will cut the faulty section, and after the cutting the faulty section, we will rest both the sections by using means we will retest both the sections, means whenever we are cutting the faulty section, we will get the two section in our hand. So we will again test this both the sections of the cable by using diagnosis procedure, and we will see there is no more any faults in the cable. So whenever there is another fault is present in the cable, Then again we will repeat all the previous procedure in the cable fault location. We will detect this another fault, we will pinpoint this another fault, and after that we will remove this faulty section. And after the confirmation of all the cutted sections they are healthy, then we will go for the repairing steps. So in repairing step we will make the cable joints and proper terminations are created. After the repairing of the cable, we will test the cable, means post repair insulation test is carried out to ensure that there is no faults in the cable after the repairing or after the making the joints in the cable. Whenever we are whenever got confirmed that there is no more further faults, then the cable is clear for charging. Okay, so after successful repairing, we will see the what the safety precautions we have to take care in the cable fault location process. So always do not work on the wet locations, means do not use the surge generator DC high voltage test sets at the wet locations, uh, because it can cause a severe accident. Always use a helmet, HV rated hand gloves and shoes for operating while operating the instruments. Do not touch any conductor without discharging. Always use, means before testing, before the testing or touching any any conductor, we always need to discharge using discharge rod. After that, do not keep any HV connections or HV connections open, because it might get a flash over in within the test object and instrument. So that's why do not keep any connection open. Do not try to remove any connection while working the instrument, because it will might cause a hazardous accidents. So that's why do not remove any connection. Avoid always avoid the instrument without connecting the earthing to the unit. So always connect the earthing to the any, means whenever we are connecting the any surge generator or high voltage test into the cable, always connect the earthing first to the unit and always remove the earthing at the last. Okay, after that always you need to keep the main supply off during making any connections or removing the connections. uh, uh, while making any connection, always connect the main supply at the last, or and while removing the connection, always removing any connection first, we have to remove the AC supply from the instrument. After that we need to ensure that there is a good quality AC main supply in the with proper earthing within the uh, specified limits of that operating working voltage of the instrument. We need to ensure this single phase AC supply. After that, always use specified ratings of mains power supply fuses, because if we are using the other than the specified ratings, then it might the extra current into the supply, it might damage the instrument. So that's why I always use specified rating fuses. After that, in case of emergency, always use the emergency of provided on the instrument first to prevent the further hazards. Always put caution labels whenever we are doing the cable fault location. It is the must we need to put the caution labels or the uh, always need to FIFO labels at the both the ends of the cable while testing of the cable, because if we are surging from one end and if any uh, another person will touch the from second end, it might get high amount of shock. So that's why we always need to put caution labels at both the ends. After that, we always need to switch off all the switch gears and to avoid the accident. Mean in case of cable, we always need to remove the switch gears from the cable connection while doing the surging to remove the further damages to these switch gears. So next we will see what is the solution from Scope. So Scope is providing the various types of prelocators depending on the customer requirements. So we are having the prelocators which can detect the fault location up to maximum 256 kilometers. Means that third picture you can see that this is our CFL PL4 Plus, which is the advanced model with 256 kilometer and 10-inch color display, in which also we have provided the screenshot facility always, and also these instruments are equipped with the cable velocity of propagation library is inbuilt in this instrument. So whenever we are setting the parameters in TDR method or any prelocation method, it will be easy for user. Okay, so these all instruments are equipped with various prelocation methods. After that, we are having surge generators with built-in DC hypo testing facility, burn down facility, and sheath fault location facility. We are having 16 kV and 32 kV surge generator in our product range. These optional DC hypo, burn down, and sheath fault location modes are offered as optional. Okay. These these universal receivers are also equipped with the detection of detection of live loaded cables, such as cables carrying the 50 hertz signal, and these minimizing the fault location time. Okay, so next we will having audio frequency generator. As I already explained the principle of this audio generator, we are having a 20 watt powerful audio frequency generator with core stabilizer frequency. Okay, next one is we are having a cable identification system with 100 ampere output current, means DC pulses current. Okay, after that we are having the secondary impulse filter. This secondary impulse filter is uh, having the 35 kV rating, and this secondary impulse filter is also supports to the ICM method also. Okay, the next one is dam discharge rod. We are providing the 35 kV and 132 kV discharge rod as standard products, and also we are providing as per the user requirement. Okay, after that we are also providing the insulation tester and multimeters, which are used for the diagnosis steps. After that we are having the measuring wheels, means measuring wheel is also a necessary necessary device. It may helps to let us consider by using the. Okay, after that also we are having barricades for providing the entry prohibition in the cables. Okay, also scope is having the cable fault locator van system, in which you can see that there is a DG set, cable drums up to the 50 meters, and also operators means this type of instruments are operated through a manual control panel, and also there are various protections, and this van is equipped with various safety aspects. Okay, also this cable fault locator test fan is ideal for the cable fault testing service providers and also for utilities. Okay, now we can start the question and answer session. Hello.
So Mahesh,
Yes.
uh,
Thank you very much,
can take the
Vishal.
questions.
So I think we have covered almost all products which we have for a cable fault location. And most importantly, as in the beginning we discussed, so this is not a single product. So it comes with a multiple products, and there are so many products for different kind of a faults. So most of the questions are answered through chat,
Yeah.
and there are few questions which are related to TDR. So just I'll take one by one. Yeah. So how multiple faults can be identified? So it is very simple. So we have to identify the first fault which is having a lesser resistance, the least resistance. So once we identify and pinpoint and rectify that fault, then after the rectification, again you need to check the cable. Suppose if there are one more fault in the same cable, so again that is going to create a flashing or a fault nature. Again, with the help of that fault nature or flashing, so we can pinpoint and again we can accelerate.
Yeah.
And
So,
if I
so in short, Mahesh, what you are trying to say is that in the TDR, we will be getting first the multiple signature as
Yes.
shown by Vishal during the presentation. And during that one, we have to start from the first or the nearest fault, the most severe fault that will be considered as a most severe fault. So we'll repair that one first, then do the retest,
for the
and one by one we will be attacking the faults. So
Yes,
that is
true.
the process
Yes.
you are trying to tell.
Yes.
Okay. There was one more question, Mahesh, which I have seen. Rather, 2-3 questions which I have seen in the chat. Some people has asked due to the what could be the maximum depth. Generally, and some of the two people has mentioned also the depth about 7.5 meter and 20 meter.
Yes.
So 7.5 meter itself is a very, very big deep cable. Generally, the cable does not go that much depth. Generally, the cables are laid at a depth of 1 meter or 2 meter, so that even after a one or two road repair work, totally new road has got built up, still the cable will be going to a depth of maximum 3 meter, 2 meter or 3 meter maximum. Generally, all the manufacturers product, whatever whoever is manufacturing cable fault locators, they are demanding the depth location can be done. Means this fault location or pinpointing is effective up to a distance of 3 to 5 meter maximum. So we can say up to 5 meter it's okay, but when going beyond 7.5 meter, 5 meter, it is really difficult. And when it comes to 7.5 meter or let's say 20 meter, so 20 meter is, I believe, it's a totally
Out of question.
unimaginable scenario. It's better to forget about that cable, because even if you find out the fault, how you will dig up to 60 feet, because 20 meter is 60 feet. That means roughly around 5-story building depth. So that much depth cable cannot go until and unless it is a submarine cable. And in case of submarine cable, that is not the this way of pinpointing or route tracing doesn't work. The submarine cables are generally having a proper route map, and the maintenance procedure is totally different than these other underground cables.
Yes, true. The main thing is that whenever there is a thumping happening inside the cable, so those acoustic and magnetic waves has to be propagated through the ground and it should come to the pinpointer ground microphone. If the depth is so high, so it is not possible to even sense those signals which are received below the ground of 7.5 meter depth or 20 meter depth. It is not at all possible. As you rightly said, it is better to forget that cable and go for a new cable.
There was few more questions, Vishal, that people has asked what is the safe value for the different cables like 132 kV or 400 kV, for which we should go for the what we can say maximum insulation test voltage level, how much we should use. What do you feel if we say that 5 kV or 10 kV is okay, even if it is a 11 kV cable? Vishal, what do you feel? 5 kV
You
or
are
10 kV
you are
should be
asking
okay.
about the insulation tester, okay?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Insulation testers are it is okay up to the 10 kV insulate IR testers are recommended for the cable fault location process. I am talking on point on behalf of the cable fault location process. So we can use the 5 kV, 10 kV IR testers up to the 33 kV cables.
Okay. So even if we are going for the higher kV cable, so even if we inject 10 kV, it doesn't matter.
No, yes, sir.
So for there was one more question which I have seen that in case of a low voltage cables, that 400 volt or something like that, 220 volt, how how to do the fault? That is that question is
Okay,
on the
LV. Okay,
220 volt or 400 volt cable.
for okay, for LT cables, we are applying the surges by setting the 4 kV means up to the 4 kV ranges. We are selecting the 0 to 4 kV range in surge generator. We are applying the voltage in the steps of 0.25 kV, and by increasing this 0.25 kV steps, we are applying the surges into the cable, and we are detecting
Any other questions? If you do you want to
I think
highlight?
we covered almost all questions. And related to this LV cable, so better we go ahead with the diagnosis. The first we have to do the IR, then pre-location. So in pre-location also we can find out some kind of a type of a fault and distance approximately. Then if it is required, so then we can go with a low voltage. So that is as mentioned by Vishal. So we can select 4 kV range by gradually increasing from 0 to 1 kV and checking the thumping, and gradually increase up to the higher voltage. And it should not be more than the 4 kV. So that we have to take care.
So I think we have kind of a thing, embedding the questions into that PPT itself. Will be sending subsequently, so it may take some time for us to send all those questions because we are arranging these webinars on daily basis. So once this series of 7 days is over, we will be taking up that activity of sending the questions properly answered and then sending it back to all of you as a ready reference. For any future queries, you can contact us. For any product related information, you can contact our marketing. For after sales related information, you can contact our service team. In the email ID is given. For any technical queries, you can contact us as the email ID given to our product specialist team. And for any other details about our company, you can visit to us and you can get be in touch with us. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for your attending the session. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Vishal. Thank you, Nilay. Thanks to all for participating in the webinar. And also I would like to thank Mr. P.K. Patnaik. Because of him, so we could able to conduct the webinars. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.